This morning, we're going to be talking about worrying and why it's total garbage. Essentially, we're also going to be doing an exercise that I like to do with myself, clients, to help mitigate and reduce this worrying that's going on in our heads, this hamster wheel of suffering that so many of us go through day in, day out from worrying. So essentially, we're going to go over these 5 reasons of why worrying is total trash and total garbage. And then we're going to do an exercise together to help mitigate it, because I don't think it's very helpful to just talk about why it sucks without having some type of answer or alternative to reduce the suffering, right? Enjoy the morning show. Thanks, friends. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk Terra Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercises to help make you the absolute best person you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. Good morning, everyone. We are going to be talking about worrying and how worrying is total garbage, but that's not super helpful, like we were alluding to in the introduction of this video. So we need an exercise, right? How do we mitigate the worrying? How do we help alleviate the reduction of suffering? As the Buddha would put it, is always with us. Nothing is permanent. There's always going to be a little bit of suffering here and there, right? But the reduction, I think, can make for a long, healthy, blissful life. So without further ado, we're going to go over these 5 reasons why worrying is total trash and we need to reduce it as much as possible in our lives. And then also I'm going to be going over an exercise. So stick with us as we're going through the show. We're going to be going over my top worries. How do we mitigate this? How do we handle and accept this? And the power of acceptance in a little bit. Okay. First and foremost. So first reason why worrying is total trash is because it doesn't solve problems. When was the last time that you worried about something and it actually made a positive change? Me either. Right. Totally. So it just doesn't solve the problem. If anything, it just makes it way worse. Because have you ever tried to solve a problem with somebody who's worrying and just all ramped up and riled up and really worried? Total nightmare. Pain in the ass. Am I right? So worrying does not solve problems. What makes us feel good? So worrying about things like, oh, this could happen, catastrophizing, this bad could happen, that bad could happen. And I'll have a list of my own here shortly, talking about all these bad things that could happen. And that's bad. But what is good? Good is the solving of the problems. But how do we solve problems? Acceptance, calm mind, looking at the resources, matching our skills, getting the right people involved. Right. So they're on 2 ends of the spectrum. So if we want to solve more problems, which I believe is a huge part of the formula to a happy and healthy life, then we need to reduce, get rid of, we'll talk about this too, how worrying is just like this fog that dissipates our thinking and our ability to act and how we feel emotionally, physically, intellectually. So doesn't solve any problems. Just get that out there right off the bat. So next time we're worrying, remember, wow, this is really not doing anyone any good. Nobody. It's a survival tool that's going on in the brain that evolved over time to make sure we don't die or get eaten by something, right? But if you live here in America like I do, worrying about that's not really an issue. So, okay, on to the next one. Mental health issues. So we talked about this hamster wheel of suffering in the introduction, and I believe worrying causes a lot of mental health issues. It just causes a lot of negative, it's just a lot of negative energy going on in our brain. We're just getting ramped up, running around, same thought over. It's incredible. People, myself included, right? I'm not out of this. I'm still going to do it. It's just I'm reducing how much I'm doing it, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you take the magic pill of this exercise and you never worry again. That's total horseshit. Really, if I can just reduce the hamster wheel going on in my head. Oh, I got to do this with my businesses. Oh, I have to do this with Danielle before we get too old. I have to. I didn't even get this done at one of the rentals. I'm just hamster wheel going, 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 and I think it causes a lot of negative energy to build up in our brains, and I think it causes a lot of mental health problems, emotional imbalance more than anything. Right, our emotions just all over the place. And granted, I think a big factor on emotional imbalance is lack of consistent. There's so many factors, right? Our environment, our sleep schedules. If you're not going to bed and getting up at the same exact time, don't this thought of why are my emotions all over the place? It's like, dude, we're just not setting ourselves up for success, whether it's eating processed garbage, not sleeping consistently, drinking alcohol, smoking pot. Yes, pot messes my emotions up too. And that drug usually gets a pass for a lot of people for some reason for medical purposes anyway. But this show's not about bagging on marijuana. Either way, mental health issues. We get riled up from the worrying, and it causes a negative impact on us emotionally. So if you're worrying about stuff all the time, don't imagine to feel good and have quality emotional well-being, right? Okay. So we talked about the hamster wheel starting to pick up speed. I'm worrying about the same thing over. I didn't organize this. I didn't get this done. I didn't help this person. And we're rocking and rolling. What happens? Our energy bar just off the cliff. So we're all ramped up. We're thinking about the same things thousands and millions of times throughout our lives that is literally doing us no good. It's just hurting the people, ourselves, and the people around us. Energy is getting drained. So we only have so much energy. Think of your energy as a glass of water. You can work out, you can read books, you can get therapy and coaching, and you can make this glass bigger. And so it can hold more water. So think of somebody who runs, and the more that they run, the longer they're able to run. So the bigger their energy glass goes up over time, you building your endurance. And worrying is no different. Like the more we reduce it and the more aware we are of it, the less we do it. I worry a lot less now than I did about a year ago. About a year ago, I bought another rental property, and I bought a rental, and it's been a nightmare. And it was driving me crazy. Anybody who knows me and my business, like I'm really big on trying to automate things and be hands off with it so I can hire the right people to get. And this one's just been a total pain in my ass, causing me to worry a bunch. And it literally is just draining my energy, just zapping my ability to smile, to be happy, to be present with the people I love and care about most. And that's not why I got into business. I don't know about you. I'm not doing this crap, getting up every single morning, running around here ranting about coaching exercises just to drain my energy bar and be miserable. So worrying can do that. Worrying will do that. The question is how often and how much energy will worrying take up? So worrying about things, there's this argument that it's for survival and this and that, but I think that's so much different than just looking at facts and planning and just having acceptance and like this non-biased opinion on things. I think they're two different worlds. But if we worry too much, my point is we're going to drain our energy bar, and we only have so much energy. And if you're worrying about other people, I think in the past, a long time ago, I was worried about other people, like relationships I was in. I was worried about things. I've been worried about friendships. I've been worried about my work. And by the time I got home, I was too damn tired to do anything productive. I was too tired to read self-help books. I was too tired to read business books. I was too tired to work out. Sound familiar? I was too tired to cook a healthy meal, so I ate a bunch of bullshit. Wow, go figure. And it goes round and round. And when we do these bad habits to cope with the pain of worrying, because our energy is so low, the glass gets a little bit smaller. The glass gets a little bit smaller. So this energy thing is really important. I believe life is energy. Energy is life. They're very tied together, and we got to protect it. And I think worrying damages it pretty badly. So we want to be very careful of this. We're never going to get rid of it completely, folks. Just reduction, improvement, right? Steady wins the race. Okay, catastrophizing. This one is I don't know if this is an actual real word because when I was typing it out, it was like a misspelling. But either way, catastrophizing, to my understanding, let's go ahead and I had on here the definition for it. But either way, I know I'm my definition of it is when you're just making it worst case scenario before you have like all the facts and information, if that makes sense. So catastrophizing is when something small happens and you just totally worry about it and it just blows it out of proportion. So what is an example of this? I had at one of our rental properties, a tenant called me and they were saying, "Hey, I think there's a leak in." Oh no, it was just actually it was 2 days ago. There's a flood in the basement, a flood in the basement. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, like it's flooded out. Like it's just the whole property is destroyed. Might as well plow it. It's all done. It's all done." Like what am I doing with my real estate career? I mean, these investments, they're just keeping me from my coaching business growing. I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm doing. This is terrible. That's catastrophizing. And when you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But I do it. I'm sure you do it. Or there's people who say they don't do it and they're lying about it. We all do it in our own ways. Catastrophizing is the plague of the mind. And it really goes back to the mental health issues, the energy drain. And it just doesn't solve any problems. You can see how these like facts of worrying all tie together. But catastrophizing is when something small happens. Like, say, if someone doesn't reply to you, it's like, oh, they hate me. They think they just, and for me in my business, I'll reach out to somebody and they'll have a message on red. And I'm like, oh, they just think the 1-page life plan. This is just total garbage. Nobody needs it. It's dumb. It was a waste of my thousands of hours of research and hard work. And it's just all for nothing. And I'm just a loser. It's like, wow, that is not true. And we do not want to talk to ourselves that way, right? That's how a lot of people start their mornings. They look at one text message. Oh, wow. Oh, this and this and this, and just catastrophizing all over the place. And it's like, wow, no wonder why people just go get 1,000-calorie drink and a sandwich that's covered in grease to start their day, because they just want to numb the pain of all this hurricane bullshit going on in our skulls, right? So catastrophizing, be careful of this. I like to just call it catastrophizing. One of my friends has been doing really well with business, similar field and coaching. He also has some rental property. So we're similar. And that's why I'm learning from him in a lot of ways. You should make friends with people who are higher than you. And this person, he's a lot richer than me in a lot of ways. So, but comparing myself to him and just saying like, oh, I'm not good enough and this and that, we got to be careful of that catastrophizing and comparing ourselves to people and all that jazz. So, all right, I went pretty hard on that one because I like to label it. So when I catch myself doing it, I'm like, oh, I'm catastrophizing. I think it sounds cheesy, but in therapy, they talk a lot about naming things. And I think it is very helpful. So name it, recognize it, raise awareness. That is the only way to reduce it and get that crap out of our heads, man. So catastrophizing. Okay, fifth and final one. So 5 reasons why worrying is total trash. Fifth one is strains relationships. We hinted at this a little bit earlier. So imagine trying to solve a problem with somebody and they're all riled up. They're worried about this. They're worried about that. They're worried about that. How fun, on a scale of 1 to fun, is it working with these people? A big fat 0, right? So we want to be really careful of worrying ourselves, because flip the script, baby. Like when we are worrying and we're getting worked up, the other people are feeling the same as we do. I was talking with my girlfriend Danielle last night. We had this beautiful dinner and we're talking about people, and it's wild to me how similar we really are. We're just, our interests and like what we put massive amount of energy towards, the activities are just different, but the reactions and how we are formed is so much the same. Like if you love something, chances are somebody loves that much more of the opposite, right? So I think it can be, when it comes to worrying, then that when you see someone worrying, I think the best thing we can do is stay calm and be supportive. And we can be that rock. We can be that pillar. We can be that leader for people to lean on when they need them, because that's what people want. When you think of someone who doesn't do a lot of worrying and they're a great leader, you think highly of them. When you think of someone who's worked up on every little thing and it's always a catastrophe type shit, they're pretty hard to manage and deal with. So, okay, those were 5 reasons why worrying sucks. That doesn't solve any problems. It causes a bunch of mental health issues. It drains our energy bar. It causes us to catastrophize, worst case scenarios, a bunch of stories that aren't true. And 5, it strains our relationships. Now that we know that, it's like, all right, Tanner, I got it. Full dose, 15 minutes of why worrying is garbage. But let's do an exercise together. And so you can think of your worries. So step number 1 of this exercise is I want you to write out a list of all your worries. And I think you're going to laugh at how short this list really gets when we're really thinking about it. Because we usually just worry about the same thing thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times over every single day. Especially if you're in the same field, like say, I've been doing coaching for a little bit. I plan on doing it until the day I die, until something changes, right? Who knows? I can't predict the future. But once you're doing something for a while, it's really easy to have the same thoughts and worries over and over again because our fears and limiting beliefs hold us back from making changes. But this exercise is going to destroy that stuff. So first is I just going over for simplicity's sake. Don't limit this to 3. Go as long as you want. I just didn't want to hold you guys up for the entirety of the day going through every single one of my worries. But these ones, I think, are the most common for me personally. Most common for me. There might be an interchangeable one about my relationship and worrying about, it won't work out, or having kids and stuff like that. But I think right now at this stage of my life, these are my biggest 3. My first one is my businesses will go belly up, bankrupt. I'll lose them all. So coaching and my rental property portfolio, these are the 2 things I pretty much got going on right now. But the 2 things, sorry, folks, I have to plug in my charger before my computer dies. How inconvenient. I got all worked up this morning trying to get my show notes ready and getting it all done and ready to go. One of these days, I'm going to hire a producer, folks. It's going to be sick. Okay, so always make sure your stuff's charging and ready to go because you don't want to lose off air. Okay, back with us. Great. First one, my businesses go belly up. I'm worried about this. Or next one is I won't see the world. I love traveling. I've been grinding so hard and investing so much back into the companies and stuff that I don't have a ton of excess cash to go traveling and buying flights right now. So I won't see the world before I die. There's a lot of places like the Vatican. I want to go see God, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's where there's like 2 big mountains, a fjord, like 2 big mountain ranges and a body of water that goes in between it, somewhere northern part of the world. I want to see the northern lights. There's so much I want to do. All right. I'm really scared. Sometimes I worry about that I'm going to get too old and I'm not going to have enough time because life's so short, yada, yada. You can see where I'm going with this. Catastrophizing about traveling and seeing the world before I die. And then lastly, that I won't live up to my potential. AKA, I'm not good enough. I believe we all do this in our own way, whether you want to word it like this or not. But I believe everyone in their own field or however, we worry that when we indulge and we slow down and we take the times to enjoy life, that we won't do enough for our bigger mission. We won't do enough in our lifetime. We won't do enough and we won't be enough. So if you believe that if you don't produce a certain amount of money in your business, you're not good enough. If you don't go travel the world, if you don't have status, if you don't do these things, you won't be good enough. And I do suffer from this like hamster wheel of thought, and I've really reduced it. But that's all we can do, right? I'm not going to get rid of this beast. And I believe there's some benefit to, I want to be better. I want to continue to make progress. I want to be the best person I can be. But there is this looming thought when I indulge and I do these things that sometimes I can be taken out of the present moment because I worry then I'm not going to live up to my full potential. I'm not going to help. I'm not going to be able to meet my goals of helping 1 million people take this 1-page life plan class, right? So that's a lot of folks. That's a lot of work. And sometimes I worry that I'm not going to be good enough and get it done. So, okay, these are some worries that we have on here. That's fine and dandy. You're thinking like, okay, I'm worried I won't be beautiful. I need to lose weight. I need to improve my health. I'm worried that I'm going to die alone. I need to find a partner. Whatever the worry could be, big or small, then I want you to write down, this is going to sound a little bit wild, but humor me. Write down what is the worst that it can happen. Like, what's the worst that it can happen? If these don't happen. So my businesses go belly up. They go bankrupt. And I lose my money. I restart. Like, what is the worst thing that could happen? I don't travel the world. And that I won't live up to my potential. Okay. If these things happen, am I any less of a man? Am I less of a person? Am I not good enough? Will my family not love me? So after we think of what you write down what is the worst that can happen. You lose the money and you restart for the business idea. Okay, we got that one down. Step number 3, how can you mitigate the worst with facts and actions? Well, the fact is, if I even lost my businesses, my family would still love me and support me. Facts. What is an action I can do to take to help mitigate this? Because, right, we're talking about solving problems, not worrying about them. So what is something I can do to help avoid this? I like to work pretty much every day. I don't work super long hours, but I like to work every day. I can just show up every day and give my best self. I can work out today. I can exercise. I can keep my body healthy. I can keep my mind sharp. I can meditate. These are the actions I can do. Instead of this catastrophizing and being on the hamster wheel, we're just writing down an action item to help mitigate it. And tell me that after you do this, after you go through these 3 steps, so step by step. So we're talking about that first example. So I want you to write down something that you're worried about. Your kid's going off to college, something like that. Write down what the worst that can happen, and then mitigate the worst with facts and actions. Because at the end of the day, acceptance is the only way to clear the fog of worry. Worry didn't do anything any good for anybody. And acceptance is the key to peace. Acceptance is the key to the reduction. Acceptance to what is. Nothing is permanent. This is a bit of a tough talk. However, people you know will die. You will die. Nothing is permanent. The things that we love and cherish most will change and shift and be gone and present again and come up, and we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. If you can predict the lottery tomorrow, please give me a call and give me that number to write down. But nobody can. So letting go and accepting to what is, I believe, is the only way to reduce this worrying, to reduce this suffering, to clear the fog of worry so you can actually be here while you have it. If you spend all this time worrying about your kids and then poof, a decade later, they're off moved across the country and you just don't even see them anymore. Like you missed dessert. Dessert has already been served. It's right here for us to take. I just don't want to miss out. And I believe the best way to do that is to accept and to be here right now. I think this activity does a good job of that. It just writes down, go through it again. You write down a list of your worries. Then you write down the worst that can happen. And then you mitigate it with some facts and actions. We're in this, life has just gotten so good and we just have so many options that it's so easy to see us riled up, to be anxious, to be so focused on the future. In the past, you couldn't even, I'm a big fan of history, and I was watching this documentary on castles and stuff. Like, you couldn't even think about the future because you're so worried about getting killed today. And that's actually still a chunk of the world. No clean water. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't even think about fulfillment if you're starving to death. So I'm happy that we have evolved and come to a place to where we can say that we have the tools, the exercises to take advantage of 2024. And I'm also excited that some of my biggest problems are me worrying about the future, me planning, because that's a good sign that what I have going on in the present moment is probably pretty good. Worrying is going to happen. It's just, how often is it going to happen? You're never going to run a marathon in 0 minutes and 0 seconds, but I can reduce my time, baby. So cheers to that. Cheers to the reduction of worry. Let's get out of this. If you are worrying a lot yourself, get a hold of me. You can go to 1plp.com. It's a new funnel I've built for our company. I can put that in the comments section, 1plp.com. You can go over there. You can connect with me there if you guys want to set up a coaching session, if you want to work together, if you like my style of coaching, you like my personality, because you should like your coach if you're going to work with them. So send it over there. I highly suggest everyone jumping on the 1PLP going into 2024. It's the greatest coaching program, I think. I spent a lot of money and a lot of time working on that sucker. And I believe it's the bee's knees. It's available for $297, a full bundle of stuff, your book, your documents, your breathing exercises. You get a coaching call with me. You get like these customized exercises that are tailored to like your journey and your story. It's a whole suite of amazing stuff. So for a really affordable price, because if you want, we just want to have a huge impact and work with 1 million people. So if you know anyone who needs a life coach, needs a program that's going to take them to the next level, shout out to the One Page Life Plan. It's the absolute best in the market. Okay, cheers, friends. Thanks so much. That's all I have for today, is I wanted to talk about worrying and why it sucks, and but also how can we actually overcome it. Try the exercise, see if it's helpful to you. Cheers, friends. In case you needed to hear it, I love you. You're a badass. Let's have an incredible Friday. It's already Friday. Holy cow. I think the week went so much faster because of Christmas being on Monday, right? And a lot of people aren't even working right now. I know my girlfriend's off, so she's that. I'm going to actually go have some breakfast with her now. But you guys have an incredible day. I love you all. And I'll be here back bright and early. I'll be back in 2024. I'll see you guys next year. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty terrible joke, but love y'all. And have a good one, and see you in 2024. I'm going to be going live New Year's Day, unless something comes up, then I'll make a post about it. But I plan on going live on the 1st, because we're going to have a big year this year. This year's going to be a big year. All right, 2024. See you then, folks. Have a good one. Peace. Oots.